Very excited to have my next guest join us. He's a very talented singer and songwriter, performer, you name it, he does it. It is Jagwar Twin. How are you, dude?
Greetings, my friend. I'm doing great on this beautiful, hot, sunny day.
First of all, how's the year been for you? You've actually, obviously released some new music recently. You had some success with a previous release and things like that.
And this year has been really, really beautiful. Unexpected in a lot of ways, and expected also in some ways. My journey as an artist has been quite long, and I'm grateful for that journey and all the lessons I've learned along the way. And this year has just been a great culmination of so many seeds I've planted over the last almost 20 years of doing this and having the success of Bad Feeling. Oompa Loompa has just been so beautiful and life changing, and did a great tour, and it's just been beautiful, Pete.
It's amazing how you grind, you grind, you grind. You think you got something, and it's just like just out of reach. And for
Yeah.
someone that you just, as you mentioned, has been in the industry for 20 years, probably making music and dreaming of being a professional artist before that even, and watching music change and evolve,
Mm.
how do you grasp that concept of keeping up yet staying true to yourself?
It's a constant dance, and I think for some of my earlier life, say even 15 years ago, I was making music and I was signed to a label and doing the whole thing. And, I was around so many artists who have become some of the biggest artists in the world, and being in the studio with people like Travis Scott and Dr. Dre and working with Lana Del Rey and like these things over the years that have just been awesome learning. But at a certain point, when the people around you start to reach these successes, you're like, what's wrong with what I'm doing? My expression. And I think there's not always something wrong. There's things to develop and to grow yourself as an artist. And I think really what that is like you said, being more true to yourself and authentic. And then interests change and sounds change, and we all evolve as humans. But I think, just continuing for me, continuing to believe in myself, even when things look like it's never going to happen. And when people say, you know what, maybe you should try something else, pal, especially last year, turning 35, having to move back in with my parents, having no money, literally having to be like, Mom, can I borrow $20 to get some food? Like, that's humbling. It's
Yeah.
a humbling experience. And thankfully, my parents have always just been so kind, and they're like, "You'll figure it out. This is just a blip." But it's humbling. And yeah, I would just say everyone has their own timelines.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I asked this, this is very relevant, especially with everything that's going on in the industry today. You see artists that have been grinding for so long, and then all of a sudden they have that hockey stick blow up, like Chapel Roan, for example. Uh,
Yeah, and I think that's part of the soul's journey. And every soul has a different thing they need to learn. Like I was also signed. I've been signed and dropped by three labels. Two of them were like major, major label deals, and working with some of the biggest producers in the world. And it looked like things were going great. And a similar thing is just for whatever reason, the label decides differently. And um, but sticking with it, and I think is a good part of your soul's journey.
you mentioned that as you go through these experiences, especially as recent as, last year, the humbling experience of going back home. How do you maintain that confidence, or how did you maintain that confidence over the years? What gave you that confidence to say, you know what, I'm going to stick to what I do versus, all right, I see that pop punk is coming back, I'm going to do that, or electronic is
Mm.
cool right now. Let me lean in and call a bunch of buddies and get some features.
You know what? That is such a great question, Pete. And I know at times in my artist career I have just jumped to some other genre because I'm like, oh, I see this is going to be big. maybe I'll try this, and there's this sort of there's not an anchoring in oneself. And I think in this phase with Jaguar Twin, really anchoring in, I wanted to dive back into my roots, like even my ancestral roots. And I started that journey with Happy Face. And there was these kind of Slavic German Oompa sounding accordions and tubas, and did more of that with Bad Feeling, and I've been doing more of that. And I do think it's all this, like, whatever we do, whether it's music, whether it's gardening, whether it's cooking, it's it's part of us. It's a what we do is a vehicle for us to tell the truth to ourselves.
Was there any point in time where you were like, you know what, this isn't sticking, or I'm not reaching a large enough audience to feed myself. I'm just going to maybe deprioritize this as a number one and make it a hobby and be a financial analyst.
I don't think I was smart enough to do that. I think if I was more intelligent, I would have done that. But I really didn't know what else to do. I'm like, I'm really good at this. So if this doesn't work out, I don't know, maybe I'll go to a monastery and become a monk.
Well, I shouldn't laugh at that. Some people have done that and have very happy lives. So, and
Yeah,
and and of course there are some others that were like, you know what? I'm going to take whatever money I have and put it into crypto, and now, oh, boom, now they have something to sustain themselves. So
sure.
there's that as well. How have you been able to use tools that have evolved over the course of time? And I'm going to reference your single tomorrow angle of eternity in a moment here because there's something interesting that you're using with your video. But how have you used technology over the course of a number of years as a working artist to your advantage and enhance your sound?
I think the question is, how has technology used me? Because who's to say who's using who, really,
Yes.
especially now. But
Yes.
it's always changing. I think technology drives art and always has. Um, I've experimented with AI and still do it. I think it's such a fascinating tool, even to use to we use it for, like, to create choirs and to, like, make interesting samples and then chop them up. I think AI is beautiful and terrifying, and it's like anything. It's dual in nature, and that's all what Jaguar Twin is about. Jaguar Twin is all about the dual nature, the twin nature of everything. Like, light from darkness, darkness from light. No matter what it is, there's going to be both.
Creating a music video that is all AI generated is very curious because I'm sure you're guiding AI, like you said, you're controlling the technology, but at the same time, it's like it's too easy for AI to be like, why don't you, I'm going to add this color and for you to say, okay, that looks good.
Hmm.
So what's that balance like?
Yeah, it's interesting because AI, it's still so primitive in terms of the music video, and working with it was really interesting because there are all these sort of limitations where you say you want something and it kind of comes back like that, but it's also it kind of has a mind of its own and it does something else. So for me, it was really interesting to experiment with it because it's sort of like you're communicating with this sentient life form in a way, just like I would in a songwriting session where I have an idea of what I want something to sound like, but then collaborating with another human being with um, their own desires and tastes, it turns out like something different in collaboration, and there's a beauty in that. With AI, I don't know. Is it good or bad? It's both.
How has life been after experiencing some success with the previous releases and the album, especially with Bad Feeling and getting all the attention?
It's been completely life changing. I mean, going from, it's like I have no money, living at my parents at 35, and then such a fast shift, and then going, to the iHeart Awards and walking the red carpet, and it's like, oh, there's Beyonce over there. It's like that's crazy. Um, and it's one of the beautiful things is, I guess we try not to get our validation from these external things, but it's cool and it feels great, just to be like, I'm not crazy, and there were times when it felt really hard to be alive, just like, what am I doing? Am I going anywhere? And like, your value even is sometimes, it's like, as a man, do I have value if I can't provide for anyone or a family? And there's those questions, that I was grappling with, at least, and I feel like a lot of men grapple with that. Like, do I have value if I'm not successful monetarily? And the answer is yes, but it's like, man, it's tough. um so it feels really good to have things moving, and to also now be able to create so much more music and have all these doors open to other collaborations and producers, and be able to continue making music. It's beautiful.
What a feeling it must be to be able to have that weight lifted off your shoulders when it comes to just the basics of living. Like, okay,
Basics.
I can afford a can of soup. I can afford the
That
rice. I can afford the vegetables to go along with that.
you have no, I mean, maybe you do have an idea, but it is just to be able to go to the grocery store. And if I want to eat something, I can just buy that can of soup, or I can buy, this sliced turkey. It's
Yeah.
like, it's incredible.
I'm sure you're going to be taking advantage of this and moving it to the next level. What's on tap for the rest of the year and early next year?
Got a bunch of songs. I came home off this last tour with 30 Seconds to Mars. I was just so inspired, playing 30 something arena shows, and came home, went right in the studio, wrote 19 songs in 9 days, and been working with some really incredible people. So, going to be releasing um, a lot of music, a few more songs this year, and then a bunch into next year.
Dude, this is so exciting. Congrats on all the success and attention that you're getting right now. It's so well deserved, and I can't wait to see what you got coming up. Really appreciate the time and great to meet you virtually here.
Thank you, my friend. It was really beautiful to chat with you, Pete.